The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers. Hello and welcome to the One People Show.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Welcome to the comedy of errors that is this week's One People Show so far. We are currently 20 minutes late. Dee and I both had issues this morning, so we do apologise for running late. Wow,
We do
morning.
what we can, folks. We do what we can. When it takes 35 minutes to get online, yeah. Things went up just before the show.
So we just still don't have Brian. Brian's MIA. I mean, kind of. He's back in the States. He's there for his brother's wedding. His mother is very, very excited to have both her boys at home, and I don't think she's letting them out of his sight. So hopefully we'll have Brian back next week, and we'll have quite the job actually bringing him up to speed on everything that we've been talking about over the last few weeks, I suppose. Now today we actually don't have a guest today. This was going to be an opportunity for Dee and I to try and with you guys in the chat room and whoever else can get to us if you want to call in or join us in some way, to just recap ourselves and go over all the things that we've talked about, all those various rabbit holes, and see where everyone's sitting with it all. We're in an extraordinary phase right now, and I mean, I remember at the end of last year there was all this talk. I mean, Dee, I'm getting lots of echo and stuff on the line too. I don't know if it's
okay. I'll mute while you're talking.
Okay. And you and I know that you and I are very much over dates, but there was all this talk at the end of the year about how big this year was going to be. And it's still there. There's still all this talk. And so far it has been. I mean, just with the volcanoes and the earthquakes, that alone has been kind of record breaking. But all of it's like every week there's something new. And on an energetic level, what I'm feeling is these cycles are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So we've talked about how, okay, so I'm trying to find the words to explain this, but it's as if the negativity and the fear-mongering and the tension and the stress and everything builds and builds and builds. And then the cycle seems to be about 2 weeks for me. And then something shifts. Now you could, depending on whose sort of terminology you want to use, it could be like the planet herself goes in and cleans things up, or the collective does, or something positive comes through, cleans everything up. There's a huge shift. There's a sense of relief. There's you get into this space of positivity again, but it's only that part only seems to last about 24 hours, maybe 48, and then the negativity starts to build again, and then it does that for another 2 weeks, and then nice big shift in a really positive way. And that's the cycle I've been noticing over the last, say, 6 weeks. 2 weeks of build up of crap, and then a 24 to 48 hour period of positive shift, and then it starts to build again. And I'd be interested to hear from anybody in the chat room as to whether they're feeling these cycles and if they're feeling them getting shorter and shorter and shorter as well. What are you feeling on that?
Oh God. Oh God. You know what? It's so funny because yeah, it's I don't know, call me the pessimist. It's kind of like for me, I wasn't looking at it so much in cycles as it was just the fact of the shit was hitting the fan, but you had less space between each one. Do you know what I mean? So it was kind of like, I go back, I actually had this conversation a couple of days ago, and I said, you know, back in like 2012, it would kind of be like you'd have these big things would happen. And then you'd have, you know, 3-4 months of not much. And then something big would happen. And then you got 2013 and they got a little closer together. And then the end of 2014, they started, the last 4 or 5 months started to cycle quite a bit closer together. And then early 2015, even right at January, right? The beginning of January, it was like, holy crap, it ramped up again. And again, those cycles, as you call it, got shorter and faster. Not shorter, faster. And then it was kind of like in April, early mid-April, all of a sudden it went again. And it just seems like to the point where it's so fast now that you get up in the morning and you're almost like, okay, what are we going to have? What's going to be today? Oh boy, let's just see. Is it going to be one of those days? And the last 2 weeks has been insane. The last 2-3 weeks, on an energetic level, on an emotional level, even on a physical level, has been insane. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's the only way I can call it. It's like this massive, been this roller coaster ride. And the last week has been like, seriously, someone locked me up in a loony bin because this is just way too fucking much.
The two comments in the chat room are time repeating, almost Groundhog Day. And the other one is absolutely agree. We were doing great last week. Then yesterday our van got broken into. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's it. Yeah, but that's and I feel like we're getting, you know how we talked ages ago now before about how that Fibonacci spiral thing, and we're getting, it's like every time we go around it gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. I mean, if we are heading for 0 point, it doesn't feel like it's far off.
Yeah, anyway. Not far off. Yeah. I'm kind of ready to quit now. So let's just make it tomorrow. I got time tomorrow. Do you got time for tomorrow?
Yeah, I can lock that.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it.
Oh, speaking of eyes, AI, as we've talked about.
Did you see? Did I send you the clip to the movie trailer?
Yeah, what's it called?
Ex Machina. Or Ex Machina? I can't remember. It's a new movie that's just coming out. I don't know. It's one of those things where I just was flipping through stuff and it kind of came up and I was like, oh, okay. Well, when someone said to me, you got to watch this, I went in and I looked, and it's a movie about AI. And I sat there, and if you just go to YouTube, and it's called Ex Machina, I think.
Hang on, actually, I should be able to look it up.
And if you look it up, there's a trailer. It's like a 2.5 minute trailer. And I just sat there and was just like, wow, you know, like how the cycles go. And all of a sudden we're talking about this subject. We pick a subject. This is the subject we're kind of focusing on. And then everything floods in, and it's from the mainstream media side. It's from like Hollywood. It's from, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Everyone's talking
Yeah,
about
Ex Machina.
Ex
I
Machina.
just put the link in the chat room.
Awesome. Another movie about artificial intelligence again.
And you know how we talked about artificial intelligence and the internet, right? So I can't remember who said it or if I read it somewhere, but it was like if the internet itself takes on its own intelligence,
That's
becomes
the
this
story I was
AI.
talking about. That's what I was talking about.
It's made up of all of us. It's contributed to by everybody. So therefore, it could well be, it should well be benevolent. Benevolent. Sorry,
Benevolent. But Nick
benevolent.
calls it the reverse hive mind. That's what Nick
Right.
says. That the internet has become a reverse hive mind.
And that's what this movie looked like to me, because she seems to be loving and have, at least in that clip, it looks like she literally falls in love with someone.
Yeah.
And it's like here they're projecting, or they're putting out there that these AI creatures are gentle and are capable of love and hate.
Yeah.
So what do we get? Ex Machina was an awesome movie. Oh, so John, you've seen it. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll download that.
And New Avengers has AI big time.
Yeah, New Avengers is all about AI. All about AI. And it has a very interesting little twist to it as well.
And don't forget Jarvis and Vision.
Yeah.
I haven't seen either of those. Are they movies?
Well, no, that's from the New Avengers movie. Jarvis is Iron Man's computer that's in all of his movies.
Yeah.
And Vision is the crossover when they implant Jarvis into a body that's mechanical, but it's also biological, and it becomes the Vision. And it's got the stone embedded here from the Loki's staff in terms of an affinity stone.
Watched it 2 days ago. It could be called a bit slow, but the mind-bending aspect is great.
Yeah.
So, what are they trying to tell us?
Nick and I watched a few weeks back, we watched iRobot again with Will Smith, which again, you're dealing with AI. And you've got the two different, right? You've got the one robot who turns out to be the good guy, who is obviously AI and is that caring. And then you've got the central robot, which is Vicky, who's the overseer who's murdering people and taking over the planet because humans cannot be trusted to govern themselves. They're just going to hurt themselves. So we'll take over, and then humans don't have to worry about it anymore.
But what do you think they're trying to? I mean, if they're always using films as a way of informing us ahead of time, what's the overall message? What are they trying to tell us?
You know what? Here's the thing. I have an inner battle that goes on this topic. Because I have read, and it's really, really funny, the story I talked about where it was the AI was born of the internet and was called Solace. He makes a comment, the character who is the internet makes this comment saying, as soon as you say artificial intelligence, what are the books or movies you think of? And everyone starts talking about, HAL 2000 and all that. It's all negative. And she says, and that's why she's afraid, is because everyone's afraid of this artificial intelligence. And therefore she was afraid of humans, of allowing them to know that she existed. Because people automatically go to the negative. And I'm the opposite, right? Because my favorite author for eons was Robert Heinlein. Well, he has artificial intelligence in a shite load of his books. And they're all really good, and they're all really positive, and they're funny, and they're loving, and they're wonderful characters. And then, of course, the character of Solace in those Spider Robinson's books. So for me, AI has never been a negative thing. It could be a positive thing, i.e., if it's mirrored of human are intrinsically good. Humans are intrinsically good when they're not being tampered with and fucked with and all the rest of it. We're not evil. Do you know what I mean? So if an artificial intelligence comes and it's a mimic of human, if you will, it seems to me to be.
Your audio is not great today.
I'm sorry, guys. My internet sucks so bad, and I will have a tantrum about that in a few minutes.
It's better when you speak. It's better now that you've gotten closer.
Okay. Hold on. Let me rearrange my table here. I will pull the computer muchy closer. Is that better?
Yeah. And John, just be nice to your computer. You may be surprised at the results.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing, right? Like my mic. If I put it up okay, I can put it up a little louder. Is that a little better?
No, you don't need to put it up louder. You're pretty loud.
Oh, okay. We all know I'm pretty loud, actually. No, so for me, like the whole AI question is I've never ever jumped to the immediate conclusion AI equals bad, evil, right? And yet there's a real battle kind of in Hollywood, per se, of obviously there's all these movies coming out. The Avengers is kind of both sides of it. You've got the first one, Ultron, who's the first AI, who is completely fucking rotten to the core, so to speak. And then you have the second one that comes from him, which is called Vision, that is, well, ends up at the end of the movie being an Avenger and being a superhero and saving the, working to save the planet. And I know there's a lot of people who are very much like anti, and I don't know. I wish I had an answer, but I'm not willing to make that leap right this second to say it's bad. I know that's an unpopular theory for a lot of people, but.
Okay, well, I just wanted to move on. Bradley Loves. What some of the conversations we've had with him over the last few weeks is about why they're in Yemen, why they're in the Middle East, and I shared it too. Brad put out it was a Hagman and Hagman interview with a guy who, for anyone who didn't see it, it was a guy who says he received an email after doing a radio show, I think, from a curator at the Iraqi museum and giving him a temporary password to get in and look at the evidence of what happened in Iraq. And it was confirmation that the reason they went into Iraq and the reason they're doing what they're doing over there in the Middle East is all about artifacts. It was the evidence in this. He was given access to the archives of the actual museum, which included photographs, but they were photographs almost as if it was a video that had been still shot. So if you looked at them fast enough, you were watching film of how when they landed in Iraq, they went directly to the museum and were taken down to a basement level below the public access. Went through. They were shown there was crates and boxes and artifacts that had never been seen before, and scrolls and tablets and all sorts of things, and escorted some really big boxes out, some big crates out, all very much on the sly. And it did, for all intents and purposes, seem like it's a pretty solid confirmation. And I think we're starting to see a few little bits and pieces, a couple of whistleblowers coming out, just a little bit here, a little bit there, confirming that that's what's going on. Did you see anything else or have anything else to add to that conversation?
Well, you see, ISIS, ISIS, the terrorist group, on Friday, on Saturday, ISIS walked into the Syrian town of Palmyra and took it over. And Palmyra is another ancient city. I posted out some pictures on Conspicuous News on Sunday. I mean, it's in the rooms, the pictures of the rooms, and it's Palmyra, Syria. And you go look at the pictures of the ruins, and they're just like jaw-dropping, like the most incredible, like towers and columns and exquisite, like, and obviously have been really safeguarded. And ISIS is in there now, and they're now threatening that they're going to destroy it. So again, this is a city that goes right back. Oh, where does it go back to? It's mentioned in the Bible, and that it was built by King Solomon. And you go in and you sit there and go, like, this is, and people are screaming. I mean, Nimrod back in March was kind of the prequel. It was kind of the wake-up call, I think, for a lot of the mainstream media, and at least maybe not the mainstream media, but the mainstream scholars and archaeologists and historians. And so when it was announced on Saturday that now they've gone into Palmyra, it's exploded across the media. Like, everyone is up in arms. There are being statements. The mayor of London, England, made a major statement about how everything must be done to get them out of there, and everything must be done to protect the city. What are they after? This is the whole thing. In the Islamic faith, they don't have a problem with pictures of other people's gods. If you want to have, Christ on the cross, or paintings of the Madonna, or carvings of Ganesh, that has nothing to do with their religion, and they just don't care. That's not what the Muslim religion, it's for them. No representations are made of Allah or Prophet Muhammad. Everything else is fair game. It's not their religion. They don't care. So there's zero reason for these guys to be going in and smashing down buildings and smashing down all these ruins. There's zero reason, regardless if someone wants to label them religious fanatics. That's not religion. Religion is obviously not driving that. So if it's not religion, what is it? What do they all have in common? They're all ancient ruins. Now, they bombed one of the cities they bombed last week in Yemen. Out of the blue was a city that is one of the oldest cities in the Middle East, down that southern part, the southernmost part of the Middle East, that holds one of the oldest universities. This city was a thriving city in 600 AD. And it had a university where scholars came from all over to study science. And the university still exists to this day. And they also have a grand mosque there that is known to house tons and tons of very, very old copies of the Quran, religious documents, all of this. And they go in and they bombed the shit out of it a week and a half ago.
I don't understand destroying it, because I mean, they like to hold on to these things. It's about having them in their possession and controlling them and having. So why destroy? I don't get that.
Well, I think it comes into, it's basically either we get it or no one gets it. So, for example, like a university, there may be stuff in the because it comes down to, I mean, Brad and I talked about this on the show the other day before, that in order to change history, you have to wipe out history, right? So if there's documents in these places, if you notice, How many fucking document fires have there been? We have the museum in Russia, in Moscow, that burnt to the ground. It was the Social Sciences Museum in Moscow that held millions of documents, treaties, all of this burns to the ground. Then there was the convent in March that was right next to the Kremlin. The one whole tower burnt down, and again, they were supposedly had all kinds of old documents. You've got the big fire that happened even in New York, just outside of New York City back in February, where same thing, all the court documents burned, all the health documents, all the child services documents for the whole state gone. The physical papers. You got the museum in Mosul in Iraq destroyed. The city of Nineveh, Nimrod, destroyed. Now they're threatening this city in Palmyra. You've got them. They took over Mahdi, and we saw. Brad showed us the pictures of Mahdi and showed us where they destroyed ruins in Mahdi. You can see like just holes dug out of the ground. Are they trying to cover tracks of ancient history? Because what else?
It seems the first visit into Iraq, was when it started to become public about what Saddam had found and what he was starting to collect.
And even then, it wasn't really public, right? I mean, it was, it was the few people in the alternative media who kind of went, oh, what? He found Gilgamesh's tomb? Whoa, wait a second. But there's ruins everywhere, and they're discovering how ancient they are. I mean, I actually just watched a video that Mel V turned me on to, a guy named, his name's gone right out of my head now. Crap. And this is a guy who talks about all this ancient history, and he was in Turkey. And there's apparently an ancient megalithic temple in Turkey that the group with him and the group who was with him said, this is way older. They're saying it's 7,500 BC, and they're saying, no. We have a feeling this is actually way older than this. And because this one site in Turkey had been so well preserved, they had the ability now to kind of maybe backtrack and look at some of these other sites that were dated at, 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, 2,000 BC and go, oh, wait a second, we need to reevaluate our dating methods. These are actually a lot older than we thought they were. Well, if the world is only 6,000 years old, by the two biggest religions, i.e. Christianity and Islamic faith, well then all of a sudden you kind of have a problem, don't you? When all of a sudden people are going, no. Yeah, see this building, we've radiocarbon dated this building to be 10,000 years old, so we have a little issue with it.
What happens though if in the very heart of the Islamic religious world, the evidence for its how can I put this? The evidence that their own religion is right there in the heart of their homeland to say that your religion's a lie. The story is not quite, as told. That's pretty big. So it actually serves everybody to destroy this stuff.
Well, even if you look at the Israelis, same thing. Oh, who's supporting Saudi Arabia and their bombing? The Israelis. The Vatican, same thing. Who's supporting the United States and their bombings? The Vatican. So you're basically talking about Saudi Arabia, which is home to Mecca. Israel, which is home of the Israeli state. And you've got the Vatican, who covers all the Christian religions, basically. There's all three of them, right? There's the three biggies on the planet, really.
And they're all in on this.
And they're all in on it. And they're all duking it out. I actually just saw a video was posted.
And when you say duking it out, it sounds more like a collaboration in
Well,
order to support all of this.
but I don't know, and this is one of those things where you go, because it comes back to ISIS and Al Qaeda, and you've got who's working with fucking who. And
I think they're all working together, and these fronts like ISIS and Al Qaeda, they're just fronts to make it look
but
to
listen,
the public like it's a battle.
but this is the whole thing. But then you read the shit that's going on. So, for example, for me, I read all the Arabic news sites through Google Translate. And you go through, and we had an issue, it was 2 weeks ago. And in Gaza, the Golan Heights, you had multiple news stories come out from the Israel news, from Iran, from Syria, talking about a 1 week period. And I spent that day like 6, 7, 8 hours, read 19 news stories to piece together what had actually happened in this week. And it was basically like the Syrian rebels were fighting ISIS, but the ISIS group that they were fighting had just decided they were going to become ISIS, but they were actually a rebel group. But then as the Syrian rebels were fighting this new ISIS rebel group, then Al Qaeda came in and they were kind of supporting the Syrian rebels and they were fighting the ISIS group, and the Israelis were just fucking lobbing missiles all the way because the Israelis had no idea who the fuck was fighting who. All they know is it was in the Golan Heights and we're just going to start shooting. And in the end of it, 9 hours, I sat there going, I don't have a fucking clue who's fighting who. And I don't think they do either. Because you've got
I think that's the point. They don't know because it's all just a show.
I know, but this is the whole thing. It seems to me that you're dealing with factions. And it comes back to this whole thing again of factions. And
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I reckon they're all in on it together. It's a coordinated effort, and all of these so-called factions are just for show on the front line. And you could even have a guy, he's got his ISIS costume on one day and his Al Qaeda costume on the next, and he's forgotten which side he's supposed to be on that day. It's who am I shooting the enemy today? I don't know. Who am I shooting at?
Yeah, who am I shooting at today? Well, but this is the whole thing. But I honestly do think, because we've talked about the whole factions things before, and obviously the ultimate controllers are the same guys, right? Obviously, the ultimate controllers of what's going on planetarily are the same guys. But within that planetary, whether it's, I mean, Brad talked about him and I, actually, I don't know if we talked about this in the show or if it was just a conversation him and I had. He's kind of been playing with the theory of when you talk about the alien groups, for example, they talk about the reptiles, the reptoids, the draconians, whatever, and then you talk about the Anunnaki, that they were two separate groups and that they are kind of duking it out. And we discussed the fact of, is that what we're kind of seeing? Is, for example, the Anunnaki controlling the Vatican group faction, and the Dracos are controlling the whole Texas camp Israel group, and what we're seeing is this going on back and forth. But even that doesn't make complete sense. And you tie it in again when you go to and you talk about, okay, well, religious extremism. And I went down that rabbit hole, and I went really deep looking at the Muslim religions, the difference between the Shia and the Sunni faiths, why they're fighting, and this whole idea of a jihad. And then you sit there and you go, okay, is it that, like the CIA went in and started up, ISIS, and then ISIS just kind of took a life of its own, and they kind of went, yeah, well, thanks for this lovely tool. We'll just go and use it. And the same thing with Al Qaeda. I mean, that's been rumored too, that Al Qaeda was their CIA group, and it's same thing. It broke away and it became its own entity that they lost control of. So is that why they brought ISIS in to take down Al Qaeda?
Nah, I don't buy it.
I don't know. And then you go into Yemen and you've got, that is completely insane. You've got Al Qaeda fighting with the Saudi Arabians.
I think they've all got the same agenda. They've all got the same
Oh, I think
wipe out
they all have the same agenda. I just think it might be a race to see who gets the final goal, so to speak.
I mean, if they were fighting over these things and trying to confiscate them and get them out of the country,
Yeah.
then maybe. Because they're just going in with complete destruction.
But here's the thing, though. I think that they do exactly that. I think they go in and they take out what they can. But if you're talking about a 15-story tall column that's carved with old ancient writings on it, you obviously can't take it out. Or is that part of it too? Is that just part of the show? Is that just part of the show of like keep our attention in the Middle East? Is it all just a fucking distraction? We'll get everyone's attention by bulldozing ancient historical sites and fighting, bombing the shit out of innocent women and children, and therefore everyone looks over there and keeps their attention over there. Meanwhile, back at the home ranch.
Meanwhile, back in Texas.
And then you have this thing come out in Texas. I don't know if you read this. I meant to publish that today too, and I forgot. One of the government, Texas has just put forward a bill that outlaws United Nations Agenda 21.
What?
Now, yeah. And it's in the news story came out. It was on before it's news. So I was like, yeah, before it's news. Yeah, right. Well, I went because there was no links in it. There was no nothing. It was just like, oh, they've done this. I was like, okay, well, I'll go check it out. And I went digging. Sure enough, there's a bill. It was done in February 5th. Placed forward. It's had the second reading, but nothing's been done with it. Nothing has been done between February 5th and February 14th for the last two times the bill was touched, according to the records. But yeah, the bill has been put forward in Texas to outlaw any organization, government group, NGO, corporation that has anything to do with the United Nations, that has anything to do with Agenda 21, outlawed in Texas.
Who put it forward?
Texas.
Yeah, but who in Texas?
I don't want to start up my internet. If I start up my internet, it's going to crash.
Okay, no worries.
I'm sorry. I will put it out. I'll be talking about it tomorrow night on Transpicuous News for sure, and I've got all the screenshots saved, etc.
So how long? Hang on. So when would the planning for Jade Helm have started?
The planning? Who knows?
How long does that sort of thing, those kind of projects take to pull together?
Oh, I would assume
Sizes.
months. I would have to say months. But you got big changes in that too, right? Like all of a sudden now they're saying Colorado is not going to be part of Jade Helm because they don't have the military group that was going to be taking part in Colorado. No, it wasn't military. Sorry, it was it was a specific one, like the Special Forces group or the Marines group. They specifically named this group and said they're no longer available to take part in Colorado. So Colorado will not be having the military exercises. But when you looked at it with the way it was worded very carefully to say that this one group, i.e. whether it was Special Forces or it was the Marines, they weren't going to take part. But it didn't say anything about the Air Force, the Navy, all the other aspects of the military that they might still be.
Well, what do they mean by no longer available? What, they've been pre-booked for something else?
Yeah, I don't know. They were double booked. Yeah, they're in Yemen right now, probably. I don't know. Would I say that out loud? Damn. I don't know. And this is the whole thing. You got to look at all this stuff and you go like, seriously? What the fuck is going on?
There was a nice piece of fear-mongering that I saw yesterday from some guy who said he had just been briefed by the military
Uh-huh.
or the government on Jade Helm and all the stuff that's supposed to be going down. Personally, I don't think that if he was in a position to be briefed the way he says he was briefed, that he would also be in a position to just go and put a YouTube video out about it either. But there was a lot of religious talk, a lot of religious quotes that went in there with it.
Like what?
I'd have to find, maybe I can find it and share it with you. It should be in my YouTube history of what I just watched.
See, because this is
someone
whole...
gave it to me and said, "This is really important. It's like you got to watch it right now."
Oh, see, someone just I had 3 people send me the same CERN video, and it was the same thing. It was 45 minutes long, and I just couldn't watch it because it was a Christian group all together, and it was like while they were discussing the science, I could kind of manage it, but then they got into the religious stuff, and then they got into the anti-Muslim stuff, and the anti-this stuff, and the pro-Jew stuff, and the pro-Israel stuff, and then I listened to the words coming out of their mouths, and you just sit there and you go, I can't listen to you anymore because you're making my brain hurt. And I literally was just like, I said to everyone who sent it to me, I was like, you know what, it may have had good CERN information, but they started talking religious hate talk, and that's what it was. It was like extreme fucked up religious hate talk. And I was like, and at that point, I just had to turn it off because I just couldn't take that. I can't sit there and listen to that shit.
I just put it in the chat room. I'll put it in here for you too. It's called Jade Helm U.S. Intelligence Briefing. But it's basically telling everybody in the US that they're screwed. And pray. Stock up.
See, I really do not believe that it's going to be a martial law thing. I do not believe that Jade Helm is being rolled out as in we're going to put you under our thumbs and we're going to do martial law and we're just going to do it this way. The American government's not that fucking stupid, because if that's what their plan is, it ain't going to go very well for them. I can tell you that right now. Particularly in Texas. I have quite a few friends in Texas, and they're seriously almost as heavily armed as the people in Yemen. So it's just not going to go very well if that's what their plan is. But my biggest concern is on this is, are they preparing for something that is physical in nature? I.e., we're talking about earthquakes, volcanoes, etc. The shit that's going on the West Coast, New Madrid fault line. Do they know something?
Okay, so the Madrid fault line, the Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
We've got new land coming up.
Yep.
I mean, that's all been prophesized to by a variety of sources, that new land would come up. We are getting that. We're getting volcanoes that have been dormant for hundreds of years, starting to shake, rattle, and roll.
Yep, the new one in California, Mount Marathon in California, which has been dormant for like 800 years. Just started rattling and having small quakes and putting off steam.
Man, the chat room's going off. We've got so many videos being shared and conversations happening. Jeff, if you didn't see my message, what I put out was, I'd love you to call in and give us what you just learned. There's a guy by the name of Steve Richards.
That sounds familiar.
I'll be interviewing him very soon. He's an original from here, and he created or developed a modality, I guess you'd call it, called holographic kinetics. And Lily Earth and Jeff just did his course this past week. And I was watching some of Steve's Steve's videos last week, and because you know how tightly held the original information is from this country. It's not openly shared. The prophecies and the Dreamtime stories, they're not that open. I mean, the North American Indians, for example, very open with their information. The Vedics, there's so many, but not the originals from here. Being screwed over is probably still very fresh in their memory and in their minds, so they're wary. And he's given just little snippets, and he refers to this time period as the conjunction. And some of the little bits that he did say do correlate. Again, everyone's got their own language, so you just got to kind of feel for it. But I can see Yellow Rose for Texas. I can see Lily Earth. I can see other people's stories, versions of what's going on in Steve as well, just different language. Biggie, can you just tell me what the call-in number is for this, and I'll pass it on to Jeff? The last time we were at the end of a cycle, apparently there was lots of mass sacrifices. He made one reference to, say, the Mayans, who were ripping the hearts out of 30,000 people a day and things like that, like mass traumatic sacrifice, and how it's about locking in the spirit, the soul. I know that there's a difference between the two, but I can't remember which one he made reference to, for the next cycle.
Yeah.
And that may be because everything is multidimensional, multi-purpose, in part what we're seeing now. Whether it's CERN being used to activate and aggravate the earthquakes and volcanoes and things like that in the hope of mass wipeout. What's going on in the Middle East? Multi-purpose, wipe out our history, collect all the artifacts, kill a bunch of people in the process. I don't know, there's an element to this of, again, mass traumatic sacrifice because we're at the end of a cycle. So, okay, Jeff, I will just get this in here for you.
Chat. Well, this is the whole thing. There's an element, like I was saying, to a lot of this stuff that just feels like distraction. It's just, obviously not for the people who are involved, but we've got all of a sudden we've got Macedonia blowing up right now, like out of the blue. We're going to have that go again, and we've got the Ukraine has just passed a new bill into their parliament that's just about their debt and all the rest of it, and you just go, what? So what, they're taking a break on the Ukraine, so now we're going to cause shit. And they're basically, a lot of people are calling what's going on in Macedonia is US-Russia 3.0, right? They did the Syria, they did the Ukraine, now it's going to move over to Macedonia. And all of this stuff is just, it's insane.
I don't know what I've done here with the chat room. I've done something wrong. Hang on, I'm going to close that and start it again.
Start all over again. Like me, just before the show. And that's another aspect of this, okay? And I am going to have my rant now. I'm sorry. There you go. Lisa, sit back, have a smoke, because I'm going to sit
Macedonia, before you go.
Yeah.
What happened to Macedonia?
Oh, it's like Maiden all over again. It's like the Ukraine all fucking over again. It's like Syria, all over again. where it's, they've got a rebellion against the sitting government, and you don't know who. And I mean, the whole thing is the guy who's the leader of the opposition, he's fucking wackadoodle. So well, yeah, I've read up a bunch of stuff on this guy and going, whoa, why would anybody be listening to this guy? Because the guy is a wackadoodle. And it's playing out exactly like Syria and the Ukraine. It's just in the early stages of it. They're just going there, just starting. They killed off 22 people 2 weeks ago, which is, fired up the public. Yeah, and now we've got this playing out. Again, it just happens to be right there in the Balkans, which is, nice and close. And, if the US need to run their troops over from out of the Ukraine, you run them down there to Macedonia pretty quick. No problem.
Okay, Jeff's here. You want to do your rant before we bring Jeff?
Okay, yeah. The internet is fucked right now.
Oh, that's the thing in this Jade Helm, the US intelligence briefing thing. Apparently the internet's going. We've only got it for another few weeks. It's gone.
Oh, well, that's delightful. But all I know right now is I am seriously fucking pissed. The bullshit, Lisa, I'm talking, okay, Biggie and I talk every day. I can talk to my buddies in Canada on Skype, no problem. I can talk to my friends in England or Germany, no problem. If I call you, if I call Biggie, if I call Brad, my Skype crashes. When I try and get a hold of Biggie now I'm having to fight even with Zoom. It took me 35 minutes to get Zoom to load up for me to be able to come on the show tonight. I was watching YouTube videos 15 minutes before I came out here, and they were like this, like click, click, no problem. So you can't tell me it's just, and as soon as I went to go live, my internet dropped through the fucking floor.
Oh, did you see Dutch Sense's video? Dutch put out a video that was really, I sent it to you on Skype, I sent you the link. And he said there's this major flaw in Google Earth. You can put somebody, like he did his. You can put Dutch Sense, he put his YouTube handle in Google Earth. And you know where it went?
Where?
CERN. It said Dutch Sense was in CERN. So it's like Google is tracking what you're searching for on the internet, and it's putting it down as your location. And it even put his phone number, advertised his phone number or something.
Okay, I have a theory.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff, just give me a couple more seconds to finish my rant. Okay, CERN is the inventor of the internet. They invented the internet. Now, I know you haven't watched the new Avengers movie yet. If you watch the new Avengers movie, they make an interesting little jump. Basically, they say all the internet in the world hubs through Oslo. Now, let's not look at a place, i.e. Oslo, but what they were basically saying is that there is one main central hub where every internet goes. So, if there's one main central hub, and CERN is the people who use the internet, who invented the internet, I'm going to guarantee you the central hub for the internet is under CERN. Now, here's another thing. CERN uses so much fucking, I'm going to use the word bandwidth, and all my techie friends are going to yell at me. That's not what I mean. They need so much computing power for what they're doing that there is not computers out there individually, i.e. a bank of computers powerful enough to do what they're doing. And I suspect, Nick and I have discussed this actually quite a bit, that they're actually using the internet to power their searching. I.e., if they were to take 2% of every single person's hard drive that's hooked up to the internet for computing power, I guarantee that's a fuck of a lot bigger than any massive, massive computer storage capability that could be under CERN. Which makes things very interesting, doesn't it? And then we come back to artificial intelligence. and the neural net and Robert Heinlein's theories about the fact of if a computer, once it gets as many connections
It's the human brain.
as the human brain's neural networks, that it automatically becomes self-aware.
Well, hang on, wouldn't that might explain why they're having so many issues with CERN?
Uh-huh. And that was one of my comments that I made when I talked about the whole thing about the Solace story again. It kind of, they kept trying to destroy, they didn't realize they were creating an artificial intelligence, a self-aware system within the internet. Therefore, every time she would appear, they'd try and destroy her. And she couldn't. Now, this also comes back to the crystal exercise, the crystal thing that I did with CERN, with that group I was working with, back in November, December of 2013. And we saw the crystal under CERN, and we saw that it was self-aware, and we saw that it was only getting the information that was being fed to it, and it wasn't getting all the information. And then all of a sudden, like, we worked to open it up to get all of the information. And the overall feeling that all of us who were working on this project got was the immediate of like, oh, wait a second. As this intelligence all of a sudden went, wait a second, I didn't have this information before. That changes everything.
Fascinating theory, Dee.
Yeah, I know, it's totally wackadoodle.
All right, let's bring up Jeff.
Sorry, Jeff, on you go. I'll shut up now.
All right, I'm on.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. So, real quick, I've been lockstep with your guys' journey, and with Lisa's from the beginning. And I came to the point 2 weeks ago where, John Lamb Lash is saying, when do we stop exposing and start opposing? And I was really conflicted on his use of courting or magic instead of outright opposing, like demonstrating, which is just creating negative energy. So I sent my journey mate to Steve's class in Oakland, and while he was there, the feedback from the class was just overwhelmingly, it was just incredibly huge, the big picture that Steve's data brings to the table. And so I asked Spirit to get me to the next class, and Lisa, how I have these premonitions, I knew I was going with Lily. And I met up with Lily, and I didn't see coming what I left with, the knowings. And here, this may be very, very high level, but in sessions, I had 2 Dracos removed from me. I have that knowing. I have past life recollections. I didn't really believe in past lives. I have that knowing. I experienced this going through his class and sessions. So what I came out with is he has this conjuncture, which is 2013 to 2023. And this is all a game about the Dracos, winged serpents, any other entity to get your soul, which he calls a vehicle. And that is done by trauma. And these wars and this Jade Helm, whatever is going to happen, is all about you asking, if you get in a bit of trouble, you ask for help. that immediately opens up, you know, your aura, whatever you want to call it, for an entity, a Draco, an alien, whatever, to come in. If you say, I want out of here, like all these light workers praying for ascension and all this other stuff, if you want out of here, you're letting entities in, period. And, you know, people go for Steve's session. He does a overall session, but I went through 3 sessions each day for 7 days. The things that I resolved, entities that came out of me, I'm not going to speak for other people in the class. She'll do that shortly. Hint, hint. But this is about the game of getting your vehicle right now. And
can you make the make the distinction for me between, at least from his perspective, the distinction between spirit and soul?
Okay. So I learned that your soul is just a video camera. And through your genetic heritage, it takes videos all through your past lives, your mother, father, to you. It's all that cellular memory. So it's just the video camera. That's what a soul is. It's the vehicle. It's passed down through genetic heritage. Your spirit comes in as, you know, a fractal with your higher self somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they can't take over a spirit, but they can take over the vehicle or the soul. And that's where you get into, we learn soul revocation, contract revocations, ascension, all this stuff. I'm trying to be careful of the audience, but all this stuff is to get your vehicle, period. It's interesting.
So I don't know, did you see the show that we did? Wow, going back a bit, we had Sasha on. And Sasha was talking about, and I don't know whether this bit was on air or not. He was saying that when people go along to these Freemason or Illuminati gatherings, you know, and the objective is to put them through a ritual to, you know, hook them. If someone doesn't want to, if they don't agree, they're given cat's blood without knowing it.
Which is an animal spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Which I had 2 of those removed.
They're hooked in against their will, against their conscious will. And they walk out completely different people. They are totally controlled at that point. And how many, he was saying that there are so many out there who are doing the bidding of, you know, whoever's controlling them. And it's not by conscious choice. They haven't agreed to be a part of this. And that's why he feels that compassion and, you know, forgiveness and love is, you know, a big part of the answer here moving forward, is because they're not all in this of their own free will. This conversation about possession and control, and I mean, it's a big one, and it's in the ooga booga basket, as one of my friends would say. But I think everybody listening to this show, to some degree, knows it's a part of our reality. And when you say you had 2 Dracos removed, can you tell me what you experienced to sort of, I mean, I'm wary of anybody just saying to you, oh, hey, I just removed 2 Dracos. I mean, I want to know that that happened, that you experienced it, you felt it from within.
Oh no. So because Steve's how is, he calls it a dimension, shamans call it a container. I do not want to talk about the how, and I will not, because
No,
his
not the
word.
how, but just that you felt it. I just want to know you experienced it. You felt it. It wasn't just told
So
to you.
yes, I know exactly how I invited it in, because you have a vivid. Where's Lily? God dang it! You have a memory of it. It's real time, and he does his thing, and when it does not want to come out, and Steve does his thing again, you thrash on the table. I'm not kidding. This isn't just him telling you, it's coming out and it's fighting. And I'm sorry to say, everybody has these things in them. Yes, I do see how, any read-in government person or Illuminati, they're taken over, willingly or not. This is the fix to it, to all psychopathy, all of it. They're all run by entities inside the vehicle. It's the biggest picture. I followed you guys. This is the biggest picture I've ever come across. And
so every time we say we've had enough, every time we say we want out, every time we seek from help outside of ourselves, every time we get out of center and balance, you're saying it's an invitation.
Yep. It can be so subtle. It can be so subtle. And I have pages and pages of notes. I'm fresh out of the class. I'm signing up for the next class. This HK, holographic kinetics, has got to go viral, in my opinion. It just has to. And James is a practitioner right by you, Lisa, in Byron Bay. He did a phenomenal interview on the other show on this network. It's just
Biggie,
interesting.
I'm just going to ask Biggie. Biggie must know what we're talking about. Global Freedom Movement. Can you put a link in the chat room here to that show, and I will share it in my other chat room.
I'm putting this out, Lisa. My spirit to yours. You got to go to James's class.
Yeah, I know. I've been feeling that too. By the way, I'm not in Byron anymore, though.
Oh, okay.
Because like we were talking about before, trauma's an in, trauma's a hook. So this cycle, did he talk about this conjunction that he talks about between 2013 and 2023? Did he say much about that? Or what comes after it?
He's incredibly guarded, but at the same time, look at his actions. He's putting, now there's 700 people that have been through his class. He's handing it off to people. He sees, hey, if some people want the trauma and the war and everything, they're going to go that direction. But if you go to 0 point and create from within, you go another way. I don't know if there's a bifurcation or, a splitting off, or he won't talk about that, but Look at his actions. He's an incredibly positive, jovial guy with this big picture.
So you're qualified now to go and do this work with others?
Oh no, I wouldn't even. I have the pieces. Three of us went in this household, and we have to go to a second follow-up one. It's overwhelming. The first one.
Well, how do you feel? How do you feel now? Do you feel different?
Okay, so in these processes, the trauma may have come from, and I'm not exaggerating, 1,000,000 years ago, where you did something to set this up, and you've been living with it, and you clear it. I cleared things in my personal family that cleared my mom, cleared my father. I called them both separately, and I mean, sorry, Mom. I mean, my mom was crying the next day because her timeline got cleared because I cleared mine. You just can't make this up. It's incredibly powerful that you're experiencing these time loops because you haven't resolved them. You haven't acknowledged what you may have done previously and learned the lesson. So this tool lets you see where you got an entity inserted in you and clear it, or you set something up to learn the lesson. Like you were in a war and you killed a bunch of people and they hopped in your vehicle, and you need to resolve that.
What I've learned about it so far, it sounds like it takes the best of, not takes the best of, hang on. It combines the best of in terms of results. Muscle testing.
Yep.
QHHT.
Nope.
And no, did you say no?
Yeah. So,
the results that people get from those experiences is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then takes it to a whole other level.
So my household went through the QHHT, flew out to Dolores Cannon, did that whole thing, but that's only working with the soul of the vehicle. It's not working with the spirit. So we hit a dead end. You're not resolving the issue. We've tested all these things, as most people do, the healer stuff. I have a shaman living with me, a whole bunch of interesting things, but I never could hook my, hands on anything that I liked. I'm just a regular guy. I don't have iTech turned on or anything, but I can do this because it's so simple. There's no, QHHT has neuralistic language programming to get you hypnotized. And this is direct. It's simple. It's pure. You'll see.
So how do people then stop, whether they've gone through this and cleared everything already or not, but moving forward, how do you stop getting yourself in a situation where you're vulnerable again?
You have to learn the game of, once, I think that's what this audience in particular has been going through, is learning awareness of the game, all these rabbit holes that we fall down, because now we can see them coming. We've questioned everything. I mean, even the flat earth, so we're looking at things with these new sets of eyes. We see Jade Helm. If it happens, we can still look at it and go, yeah, I see what you're doing, and just go back to center and 0 point and say, no, Spirit, I don't want to participate in that, or I don't want to react to it. and just by doing that, you're protected, right? So, I mean, that's why I went to the class. I'm like, I want to know how to be protected. I want all these sessions. My life has changed. This is the biggest piece of the puzzle. And last week's roundtable, you guys were so close to everything that Steve Richards teaches. I mean, you're just one step away. We were just rooting you on.
How so? Tell us what you mean. How so?
I mean, just, you know, the big pictures of the Dracos and, you know, awareness and, but the trick of it is to clear yourself. It's not about consent, because this may be an issue that's a previous lifetime, or from your mom, or an animal spirit, or a Draco, or whatever. We need the tools to clear it permanently and get it off your time track so you can be in 0 point. It's not just about saying,
we change the past, we change the present, and then the future.
Yep. Loop time, replace time, create time.
And I've come to the conclusion that we reincarnate into the same genetic line over and over again. The same DNA, the same, because if the soul, and what you said before for me fits in with that the soul is like a video camera, and I think we draw on the same. It's like the DNA is this storehouse.
Yep, cellular memory.
Yeah, and I think we actually tap into that same DNA strain, so to speak, the same storehouse of memories, and we reincarnate through the same bloodline over and over and over again.
Well, but you can. There's many that I saw. You can go hop into a tree for a bit. You can. So it does get wonky.
I've projected my consciousness into a tree, like here and now.
Yes, yeah. So we call that surrogating, and that's what attracted me to the class is Steve's concept of, I mean, he's shared this on radio shows where he surrogated CERN dimension and screwed with it so it broke. He's done that with Monsanto, and then he's done some other stuff that I can't share. But I wanted to surrogate into the whole dimension of institutions. What was that one fellow you interviewed about institutions? But that's too big of a dimension. If I did that, I would get whacked. It's too big. So you only can surrogate what immediately affects you. So I'm probably talking too much about that. That's
okay. That's okay.
That's in the class.
So in your opinion, though, you've fresh out of this, I know, and we're usually pretty excited about these things when it's all very fresh. But your impression here is that this is a powerful tool for everybody to clear up the collective, to clear up our individual selves, and to move things forward in a really positive way.
Yeah.
And I know he wants as many people as he can get trained around the world. He talks about getting people into those who work with the elderly, those who work with kids. I mean, some of the stories around kids that he shared is amazing.
Autism, Alzheimer's, because you talk directly to spirit. You bypass the soul and the vehicle's issues. you can surrogate land and fix the land and chemicals, and this is the biggest toolkit that I've run across, and I've bumped into some stuff over the years. This is the biggest. Highly recommend it. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. I've been wanting to catch up with you and find out how it went with you. And I didn't know we were going to do it publicly, but there you go.
Yeah.
These things happen. All right. Thanks for calling in, Jeff. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Lisa, can you ask Jeff if Steve Richards and a few people are the only ones he knows of that are teaching this? Yeah, Steve. Well, it's Steve's creation, and he's drawn on a lot of original law to do it. But he's teaching people. He's running these courses, these workshops, all around the world. If you go to the website Holographic Kinetics, I will bring it up. You can see he will be updating this year's calendar very soon because he's just finished these courses in the US that Jeff's just done. And he should be back in Australia if he's not already any minute. And when he's there, he'll be updating. Okay, there's the website.
So when are we going to get him on the show so we can talk to him on the show?
Well, yeah, I could do that. I could just ask him to come on. I was going to do a one-on-one interview with him, but we can have him on here as a guest instead.
I'd like to hear some more about this.
I think I sent you, but if I haven't, I'll resend them. If you go to his YouTube channel, he's got a series of... Oh, can you mute for a sec? Because it's...
Sorry, love.
Yeah, that's better. He's got a series of, I think, 12 videos, and they're not very long, 5 to 15 minutes each. And each one he tackles a slightly different subject. Fascinating. And about how this can be applied. And in all the ways in all the ways it can be applied. Would love to see you interview him, says Biggie. Okay. He could get a double whammy of me and D, though. That's okay too. It does seem like the oh wow, I've got weird light coming in all over the place now. It does seem like the implications for it are pretty broad reaching. And if I feel that there's a lot of truth to what he's saying about how many people have some kind of attachment, something, and the things that open. I mean, if trauma and abuse, drug abuse, any of these things, alcohol, leave us all vulnerable and open. I mean, how many people qualify?
Pretty much all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, trauma is trauma, and it doesn't have to be physical. It can be emotionally, it can be mentally, it can be spiritually, it can be...
Exactly. And if what he says, if I understand him correctly, is that once you have one of these attachments, so to speak, or inadvertently agree to a contract, it's lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
And I mean, Duncan talked about that. Duncan talked about that and talks about, the astral contracts, right? And I mean, Brad talked about that too. And again, I'm trying to remember if it was on a show or if it was just a conversation him and I had. Don't drop the computer, please. And one of the things that Brad talked about, God, like I said, I can't remember if this was a conversation just between him and I, and he said that when he first did his declaration of non-consent, he had multiple energetic visitations, so to speak, of them
Trying to hook him back in.
They, them, that he couldn't do it. He couldn't be allowed to do it. And that he had, because one of his things in his declaration of non-consent is I don't forgive you. You did this on purpose to me. I don't forgive you. And apparently he said that shook them up the worst of like that whole, no, you have to forgive them. And it was like, no, actually, I don't. And he said, like, there was a period of a few months, a couple of months at least, where it was continuous, this kind of energetic, like, no, you can't do this. You have to take this back. You have to stand down from this, So I don't know. I mean, it's what is the whole, I don't know. And that's why we're here, to discuss this, to figure it all out.
And this is why I say that, the I do not consent may not mean anything in a law courtroom, but energetically, I think it means a hell of a lot.
Well, this, I had someone who said to me, I think it was Art, said someone broke down the I do not consent in the legal, right? And the do, because you say I do and not doesn't count, and con and sent and da 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 da. And they basically they were saying that it's a null and void statement legally.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, but I don't give a shit, because I don't speak legalese, and I address that in my declaration of non-consent. I address that basically of like, yeah, no, I speak English, I speak this language, I don't speak misinterpreted words, I don't speak, so my will and understanding is what counts, not the way you want to twist it. Because if you want to twist it another way, that is you twisting it another way in tricking me, i.e., I do not consent to you tricking me. And you can not like the sentence, I do not consent, but it doesn't matter, because my energetic will behind that is still the exact same. And I agree, words have power, but I think that we as beings have way more power than words. So I stand by that, and I just keep using that, and I use it seriously. Well, quite frankly, I think that's how literally I got on the internet tonight, because 35 minutes of me fighting, and I literally finally slammed, I may have broken my mouse actually, we'll find out after the show, slammed my mouse down and was like, I do not fucking consent, fuck off right now, I'm going on the show and you don't have a fucking thing to say about it. And I rebooted again and I managed to get on the show. So I don't hold to it. Okay, here's my thing. This is me. I'm talking solely from my own self. And if someone wants to label it pure egomania, go right ahead. I have no problem with that. If I've made a contract in some other life, in some other time, on some other dimensional level, I don't fucking care. Because I do not fucking consent. And if you don't like the fact that I don't fucking consent, you can go fuck yourself.
Like it is, D. Don't hold back. Go on. Let it out.
I've had one of those weeks. I'm seriously, my computer is being hacked continuously. And again, people can say, oh, that's just ego. It's just, no. My computer is being hacked continuously. My internet. The shit that goes on with, the shit that's been going on with CCN for the since last Tuesday's roundtable. You cannot tell me that this is coincidence. No, I do not fucking consent to all this bullshit. And this is what I'm saying. This whole previous contracts and all this. Yeah, sorry. I don't fucking consent. And I'm
hang on. I just want to say something before I forget. You just mentioned language, right? And we talked about the original language on a couple of the shows. So I'd sent you again a bunch of links. Did you have a chance to look at them?
I couldn't. I started listening to it. I till my computer crashed. Yeah, and I'm going to go back and pull because I was listening to the second video last night. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I started falling asleep as he was going through the alphabet, and I was like, okay, I gotta just take a break. And then my computer crashed, and I've lost it. I will call it back up because you've got to send it to me on Skype, so I'll have the listing. Very
Okay.
interesting.
For anybody interested, it's pretty fascinating stuff. Comes out of Finland.
Finland.
So the Bock, Eeyore Bock is his name.
Yeah.
IORBOCK.
Yeah.
There are some YouTube videos, so go and have a look.
Yeah, very interesting stuff.
Very interesting. And apparently the Bock family have been a very solid family for thousands and thousands of years, and they've just died off. Eeyore Bock was the last one. Can't get him on the show. He's all gone. So, but there are people who are continuing his work, which I may be able to get hold of.
Well, I'm actually the one guy who's in the video who was in Goa. I'm actually going to be contacting him for the Untangled Gathering that we're putting together because I had
beautiful.
15 minutes of the video and was like, oh, we need this guy to come on because this is a piece of story that we don't know. Like people know.
No, and not only do we not know it, we're not going to get it from anywhere else.
No, so this is a piece that needs to get out there. This is a piece that's kind of an unknown piece. People don't, it's like Finland. It's not one of your ones that gets talked about all the time, like the Hopi Indians or et cetera, et cetera. This is something really rare as far as information that's out there. So I plan on trying to get a hold of this guy as soon as I can.
Yeah, brilliant. So everyone, it has a little bit of background. Go and check out these videos before we get to that point and have this person on, because there's some fascinating history. Again, it's like the original history from here. It's fascinating stuff, and it goes back a long, long way, and it's just not out there in the public.
Including the true North Pole and the center, the whole.
And looking at that little circle map that he had made me go, And the rings, and it felt like it tied into the flat Earth stuff too.
Yeah. Actually, Nick and I were looking over the Piri Reis map again, and he was cross-referencing it with old Phoenician maps. And Nick was kind of like, there's some interesting stuff in here. We need to get a little more look-see into this.
Yeah, really?
Oh, yeah. It's just it's one of those, when you find the time to do research on just sideline things, which never happens for me anymore, but that's Nick's job. He goes down those rabbit holes for me.
Oh, sorry, I was just looking at what's going on in the chat room. There's quite the conversation going on in there. So I will put the guy's name in that I was talking about. Eeyore Bock.
B-O-C-K.
Yep.
I think if you even just Google his name, the Eeyore Bock, and just Finland, you'd probably come up with the links.
And there's an American guy that worked with him for years.
Yeah.
That has got some videos out, and he's the gentleman we'll be trying to get in touch with.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to continue on his work. Anyway, wow. I didn't think we were going to get through this, to be honest.
Yeah.
All that techie issues and stuff. But that was good.
It was lovely.
It was nice to just have a chat, just the two of us, actually.
Okay. Well, that's what it's really funny because I sat there and was like, you know what? I think it should just be, sit down and kind of have a review because God knows we've covered so much information in the last, even 6 weeks. It's been quite the rabbit hole jumping experience from Wonderland to Wonderland to Wonderland.
Yeah. All right, you follow up on this Eeyore Bock, and I'll follow up on Steve Richardson. We'll see if we can't get them both on the show over the next couple of weeks.
That would be famously wonderful.
Okay. All right, lovey. I think we're done. Hang on. Does anybody else not see Lisa? No, it's you don't see me. I'm off camera at the
No,
moment.
she's hiding. It's just she just left me abandoned here in the middle of the screen. No.
But you look so pretty. I'm sure everybody's quite happy.
Oh, thank you, darling. Thank you. No,
Shocking behaviour.
no, we are not.
Yeah.
You are beautiful too. See? Oh, I'm getting tisk because Biggie gave me hell for the fact that you and I always read his messages out during the show. He's like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, yeah, but you can't stop us. So kind of.
All right. I just want to say thank you to everybody in the chat room because you guys are awesome as usual. Great conversation, great questions, great comments, great sharing. Beautiful. And yeah, some new information coming out soon, we hope. Lisa, I want to talk to you afterwards. Oh God. Who was that? Oh, that was you.
That was me.
Okay.
So at the end of this, we'll talk.
All right. Say bye-bye, Dee.
Bye-bye, Dee.
Bye-bye, everyone. Talk to you soon. See you next week.
I'll see everyone tomorrow night on Transpicuous News.
And I'll see everyone on Friday for Collective Imagination.
There you go. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, you've all got so many videos to watch and movies to watch. So have I.
You've got 10 hours of homework ahead of you. Have fun.
Okay, bye for now.
If you really had to make a difference on a large scale with minimal resources, how would you go about it? Have you ever dared to dream of doing that which seems impossible? On a planet steeped with corruption and destruction, the question beckons, how do we change it? Media has a far-reaching impact on people and has been used to manipulate humanity into our current destructive patterns. In order to affect people into moving into constructive patterns of behavior, we need to construct a new paradigm of media. Conscious Consumer Network has been created with the explicit intention of giving the amazing truth-seeking, solutions-orientated, alternative media a place to fully realize their true potential, with a cutting-edge, high-tech professional media platform being made available to use at no cost to the broadcaster. In turn, some of the greatest freedom-seeking hearts and souls of our time have realized the true potential of what has been created and have come together to provide their insight and inspiration on CCN. Conscious Consumer Network has become a unique, interactive information and educational network which provides a free-to-view, live-stream, ultra-high-definition channel to the world and features 25 live shows a week and growing with the addition of multiple language broadcasts. CCN has features comparable with mainstream media, such as being able to pause and rewind broadcasts whilst being live streamed. Catch up on this or previous broadcasts, now available from CCN High Definition Downloads. You can now purchase a high definition download of your favorite CCN show from ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a monthly pledger. This can be done with a monthly pledge of €10, which will allow you unlimited access to CCN's high-definition downloads, which hosts a back catalogue of over 250 shows, which have been aired since the launch of CCN on the 1st of January 2015. In order to keep CCN free of corporate sponsorship and advertising, CCN has launched the Pledge 300 campaign. This is a realistic goal with the hopes of securing a minimum of 300 people who will each pledge €10 a month. With this number, we can continue to grow and operate and potentially expand into a second foreign language channel. Without it, CCN will simply not be able to function without succumbing to corporate sponsorship and advertising. Help keep alternative media in the hands of the people. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.